What is a cascading dropdown? What can it be used for? And how do you implement it in Zervicepoint? If we look at the following example from Kendo UI, they have 3 dropdowns and they are all dependent on each other. So if you choose something in categories, the options in products will be changed to connect with the option you made in the first dropdown, and the option you made in the products will affect the values that you have in orders. So if I select beverages, I can only select related, beverages from the products dropdown. Let's go with chai. And orders is probably, some kind of location where you can order chai, Portland. And if I change categories here to condiments, these will be cleared. And I can't click in orders before I have selected a product. But let's go ahead and choose aniseed syrup. And in orders, we're going with Berlin. Okay, and there's a way to do this in Zervicepoint. If we look at this newly created snippet, we have an example here, and I'm just going to go ahead here and click here, copy that example, go into a service, an empty service I created, paste the JSON there, save and publish, go out here, what was the name? Cascading Dropdowns, yeah. So that's how easy it is to implement a snippet, by the way. So I really recommend that you start looking at the snippets, and I will immediately start to create new ones as well. And cascading dropdowns work the same here. I have a country dropdown. The 2 following dropdowns are disabled. I select Sweden. I get cities in Sweden. I select Göteborg. And in offices, I get offices related to Göteborg, like body component, Kyrkogatan. And if I clear city, this will be disabled and clear as well. I select Malmö, and we get turning torso, Blue Labs, for instance. If I change to Iceland here, we get Reykjavik and engine control, Langavegur. So that's basically what the cascading dropdown is. If we look on this snippet, how it works, we can go ahead and start by looking. Most of the magic happens in JavaScript here. But if we look on the country dropdown first, this is a static dropdown. It's restricted, so it can't be, the values can't be manipulated. It can be manipulated with JavaScript, but you can't post anything other than these values here. And we have Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland. So all those countries are specified in here. And we have allowed clear, and we have a placeholder just to make it nice. And in city, I go and click on the JavaScript here. And we can look on load. We just clear it. And if we look here, we just have the default values. And that's why we run clear. And same goes for the office dropdown. We clear, and we do that to get rid of these values. So if we look at what's happening when I'm changing something or clearing this first dropdown, we look on JavaScript's on change, because that's what's being triggered when we change or null the value. We always start by clearing the following 2 dropdowns. And can you see my face? Almost. Very important. Not really. If this.val, so that's the value of the country you have selected, we will enable the city dropdown, and then we have the switch syntax here, where we look on the selected country, and if you have selected Sweden, for instance, we put the following cities into the city dropdown using the add method or the add function. And the label is Stockholm and the value is Stockholm, and we'll put false as the third argument, because that indicates if this value should be selected or not. So we just add the options. We don't automatically select anything. We could write, if Stockholm should be default, we could write true here. And the same goes for Norway, Denmark, and Iceland. And we have else here as well. So if they just cleared the dropdown, we will disable the following 2 dropdowns. That's all good. If we look on the JavaScript on city, we do basically exactly the same. So what I did there was I just copied the last one, and then I started looking on the city values from the last JavaScript there. So if you selected Stockholm, okay, we should have 2 offices there, and Göteborg, and so on. And this goes for every city for every country. So you can imagine this gets harder to manage the more organization data you have like this. So this is basically one of the drawbacks with using this. So this example is suitable if you have maybe your organization is a little bit smaller and the organization data doesn't change every day, and there are so different ways of solving this. We can have a look. I have actually wrote down the drawbacks here. Yeah, so painful to manage larger data, only suitable for smaller amounts of data. So if I think before implementing this in any solution, I think you should consider fetching the data dynamically instead from the master data directly. So maybe there's a database somewhere where HR updates with new offices and locations all the time. You might as well just get the data from there directly. And once they do changes there, let's say they add another country, if you fetch it dynamically, Zervicepoint will be updated immediately. So that's a large win, and then you don't need to care for changes and orders when people say, oh, we don't have an office in Iceland anymore, so you need to remove that. Because there's a middle thing here as well, because if we have used this JavaScript in many services, we have local copies in every service, like we have a new user, update user, or relocate user, or whatever, and we need to have these dropdowns in every service. Once they want to add a location, we need to go into each and every JavaScript and update those. So you would solve that by dynamically retrieving from the target system. But if you still don't want to do that, you want to do this middle thing, we can actually do that by using form functions. So I created a little example here. I have get cities in my Erik namespace, and I just started. So basically I took some of the code here. I took the code from the city dropdown, this one, and then I made it return all the eligible cities for Sweden and for Norway as well. I haven't finished Denmark and Iceland, but we don't need to do that to show the example. And instead, hold up. So when you change a country, instead of having all this very local code in here, we can basically remove that, and we need to add our form function namespace. I'll do that. I have one too many, and we can just get the cities by doing sed and which country, this val, sorry, and we get the cities, and then we can go cities for each. I like to do it this way. Function city, because if we look on this form function, it returns an array of cities. So that means I can do for each. And for each city that we get back, we can just go city. We use our JavaScript API, and this is not an object, it's just a string array. So for each I get all the cities from my central function, which I can reuse in all my services. So whenever there's a location that needs to be updated, I can go in one place and remove Gothenburg, for instance, or add a different country here as well. And that will have effect on all the services that I use this on. But I need to make the services use this, of course, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here. So I get all the cities, and then I add it to the dropdown. And I think that's enough. I select Sweden, and we get all the eligible cities. And this will work even if this data is local in this service as well. Okay, so there will be some videos in the future where I show a dynamic way of doing this. And until then, have a good summer.